Hello! I'm Elaine, and I'm a tour guide in the French Quarter. I do ghost tours. And I am not going to tell you the stories that I tell on my tour, because you gotta pay for those. But if you want to hear some interesting things that have happened to me while I'm leading random drunk people around the French Quarter, I got you. So, as a tour guide, my job is not to judge you. Generally speaking, if I do judge you, which I will admit I will because I'm a judgy little bitch, I will keep it to myself. I will not comment on the fact that you wore high heels on a walking tour in the French Quarter. I will not comment on the fact that you think a proper night in New Orleans means getting as many beads as possible and then puking in the streets. I am not going to comment on the fact that you think that Bubba Gump shrimp is real New Orleans cuisine. I'm not gonna. Like, you can be who you want to be. Be as touristy as you want. Get as drunk as you want. As long as you don't bother anyone, I don't care. But there are a few things that I will seriously judge you about, and I might even say something. There was one night, relatively recently, I was doing a tour and my group were gathering, and a large portion of the group was this one family who they later told me were from somewhere in Alabama, but they lived relatively near a city, but out in the country in Alabama. And another group came up and they were carrying like takeout bags. They'd clearly just been to a restaurant. And a homeless guy came up, and this guy, yes, he does look homeless. He tends to look unbathed. He often wears a rug wrapped around his waist as a skirt, but he's a nice guy. I've never had problems with him. He's always been polite to me. I have no probs. But that particular night, he came up and asked me, "Hey, do you have a fork?" And at first, I was just super confused. I was like, "Why would I have a fork?" And I realized after he had left, he was seeing the girls behind me who had the to-go bags, and just his eyes had fooled him, and he thought I had one. But I explained, "No, sorry, honey, I don't have a fork." And so he turned to the rest of the group and asked, "Does anyone have a fork I can borrow or have?" And everybody said no, and he walked away. No problem. Perfectly innocent interaction. And this guy from Alabama looks at me and says, "That's why I can't live in a city." And our homeless friend was still well within earshot, so I'm like, dude, you just insulted that guy right in front of his face. But also, he did nothing wrong. Like, that was a perfectly innocent interaction. But yeah, so judging you for that, I am judging you. Another person that I still judge hardcore was a mom who brought her 16-year-old daughter on the Bad Bitches tour. And, like, officially 16 is old enough to be on that tour. Like, 16 is the cutoff. But they thought it was literally 18 and up. And so at the first half of the tour, the mom kept being like, "Yeah, it's her 18th birthday. It's her 18th birthday." And meanwhile, the girls been like, "Mom, it's my 16th birthday. Like, this is not cute." And, like, the way she was interacting with her daughter was just a bit weird to begin with. But then, like, I tell them the whole "there's no bathroom break," and they go off, and the mom comes back with a hand grenade for her 16-year-old daughter. And I'm sitting here like, you're giving your 16-year-old daughter hard liquor on my tour. Could you not? But another one that I judge endlessly, right before we went into lockdown, literally the last tour I did before we went into lockdown for, the pandemic that shall not be named, I was doing a tour that was 5 women were the only people who had not pulled out last minute. And, like, as the tour starts, they seem nice and friendly and whatever, and I notice about halfway through they start getting phone calls and looking more and more frazzled and stressed. So eventually I'm just like, "Guys, is everything okay? Do you, like, what's going on?" And one of them says, "Oh, we're all from Chicago, and we're getting the news that Chicago's going into lockdown, and we're not sure that if we leave tomorrow, which is when our plane is scheduled, we'll be able to make it back." And I was like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Do y'all need to leave now? Like, it will not upset me. Like, that is fine if y'all need to go to the airport now." And they're like, "Oh, no, 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 it's fine. We'll finish the tour. Like, 10 minutes shouldn't matter." So I rush through the end of the tour, trying to get them done as quickly as possible so they can get on a plane and get home. Because they've also explained that they have kids waiting for them at home. And, like, they can't be stuck in New Orleans for 2 to 3 weeks. And at that time, we had no idea what these shutdowns were actually going to mean. So I was like, "Yeah, let's get you back home as quickly as possible." And we finished the tour, And I do the like, thanks for coming, y'all make it home safe, have a good trip. And one of them like turns to her friend and says, okay, so Pat O'Brien's now? Judging. Still judging. To this day, I am judging. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and feel free to share your own experiences in the comments below.